Hello, this is Liz with Crafty Devotion. We're going to do a little bit thicker fabric today, and I'm going to start off making this one, which is the same method as I showed you before, but you got to stay tuned because I'm going to show you a slight variation, and we're going to make it look more like this one, and this one's a bit larger than the others. And see this gorgeous beauty. We'll be making this one also. It's gorgeous. And this one is the same fabrics. This is using the method that I showed you already, and this is using a slightly different method, and you'll be surprised how easy it is. Okay, we are going to make one like this, and this was one of the first flowers I made. And when I made this one, I only put 6 petals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to try and make this one with the 8 petal method, and I have made another one so I can give you some tips, but if you want to make it 6 petals, you can see that you can do that. I would like you to, if you'd like to see detailed version of making these petals, head on over to my first video in this series of folded flowers, the very first video, and I will actually place a link to it. It should flash up above, or I may place a link also in the description box of this. And I have shown you in that video how I do all of this in detail. And so I'm going to just put this one together and just give you some tips when you are using wider fabric or thicker fabric that I came up with, so that I can actually get more petals and give it a nice, and usually what I found is that if I squeeze here a little bit, it helps to make sure that everything's going to fit. Or also the other thing you can do is make sure that you can make your circle a tiny bit larger when you do this. If you make it a little bit larger, then it will a little more fits because it actually takes up a little more room. So this circle is still just a tiny bit over 1/4 of an inch that I have here. And remember to overlap in that area. I have for you in reference to these is make sure that you do work on making the tips as pointy as you can. That helps them to all fit together. And as you can see, these went together very well. And just gonna look gorgeous. Now let's compare them. You can see how it's much more shabby. That's because I shabbied my fabric a lot more before I cut it apart. This one, I am going to show you a slightly different way to place your petals. Okay, I have 8 right now. So we'll see if 8's enough, but if not, then I will get more fabric. So I've made 8 of the petals, and I've made them in the same fashion that I showed you before. They were like this, right? This is how we were doing them at first. Okay, now this time we're going to tilt them on the side, and we're going to glue it down. Glue's going down here, and this part right here is hanging free. The closed edge is where you're going to place it, close to the circle, and butt the points up, not the rest, just the points. Get butted up and you'll see that it opens up. See that? Realize that if you use the thinner fabric and you use this method for applying the petals, that you will might need more petals, okay? And it's flat. And I'm sticking it right in there. Oops, sticking it right in there. I brought it too close to myself. There we go. So can you see how it's looks kind of open right there? Okay. It looks like there's space there. Take this part, and you need to put some glue in between the petals. Okay, and then turn it upside down. If you look at the difference between these two, see how much bigger it looks, a little bigger. I want you to look closely at this gorgeous little flower. This is a little smaller than the ones that I have been making. Let me see if I can compare it to this one. It's a small, little bit smaller, and it looks beautiful and full. And this is the fabric I use. This is just a little scrap of fabric that I found. I think I picked it up new. It came in with some other flowers that, with other fabrics that I had. And what it is, it looks like maybe somebody was going to make something with it, a sleeve, or I don't know what they were going to make with it. But it's just a scrap. And I like to show you how to use scraps too. But it's beautiful, shiny fabric, and it's two-sided. You can see this is I think this is actually the front and this is actually the back, but I actually liked the back better than the front, and it made this gorgeous little flower. What I did was I decided that, okay, I'm going to just, this one you cannot tear at all, so I decided to use the pattern on the fabric to determine the size of my flower. So I went ahead and just cut along the pattern of the fabric. And then I cut it into squares to make my petals. Okay, I made petals just like I taught you how to make the petals, but I decided this time to also try the way we put these together, but with a different fabric, with this fabric that I showed you. That's a two-sided fabric. I thought it would be a lovely fabric and it would look gorgeous. And this time you're going to just, the same thing, you're going to put it up against, the tips are going to meet, the tips will meet, and then you can see how it just falls into place. This one comes over here and these look here. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, it looks like this fabric is going to need one more petal. Okay, I hope this has inspired you, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to go choose the centers that I'm going to place in these, and I will come back with some centers on my decisions for decided what centers to put on my flowers. I went into my stash and I found this cute doily, and I liked the way it looked with this one, and it is just a small little doily. Sweet, sweet, sweet. And then I have this flower. I'm just showing you different ways that you can decorate. I've had these flowers for a while. I go in a lot of my D-stash. I don't know if I have very many left, but they're not an uncommon flower. Can you see how gorgeous that looks? And you know, with these flowers, with these fabric flowers, I really love to use the fabrics that I love. And I love the fabric, and I want to highlight the fabric. I don't want to cover it up. And this is why I think that I am embellishing the centers so that you can still see the fabric. And this gorgeous gold one, this one I had just small. It came out small, so I just put a one in the center with nothing else, and that looks cute. But this one came out quite large. After I cut the fabrics, I think I cut the squares a little bit bigger, and I decided I wanted to bring out that gold in it, so I got a gold piece here. And I've actually placed these in my D-stash also before. You see that? And then I'm just going to place this little small bling on top. I carry many different blings in my shop. Let me show you this other one. This triple one, I actually carry it in various colors in my shop. And can't you see how gorgeous that looks? Just a beautiful gold made out of a piece of scrap, and I could probably make a couple of more of those. And you can see how using the same way of folding your flower, you can still make something else. And this one required one extra petal. It has 9 petals. This one had 8. All the others, this one required only 8 petals. And then this one, I decided to decorate with this. I may change that. Let me see. Let's see. I kind of like this one. Let's see if it. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Okay, a little smaller. This is because I love the fabric that I'm doing this. I like the fabric. It's beautiful fabric. And then I carry buttons like these right now in my shop. And they look vintage, but they're actually brand new. And I like different things to embellish with. I don't always embellish with only bling. I like to use buttons and flowers. As you can see how beautiful those look, and how this one, I did like that one better. I like the color, how it blended the color better. In this tips and tricks section, I'm going to talk about the fabrics and how these types of thicker fabrics, some of the things to look for. When you are using these fabrics, you might want to always test. Test, test, test. Test. How do you test it? Well, you test it by tearing. I will take the pieces and I will test them by tearing them. In some of the fabrics will tear in one direction and they may not tear in the other direction. So sometimes I will tear them in one direction and then I will cut the rest, and other times I'll just cut them completely because each fabric is different. Now, so this flower came from this fabric, and you can see this is just a gorgeous fabric that has beautiful details in it. It only wanted to tear one way. The other way, it was just not tearing. And then these fabrics, some of them you have to really pull quite hard, and I'm going to go ahead and give you an example. I have this and I started tearing it, and you can see that sometimes it becomes wavy, like like this, and other times it doesn't. And sometimes the things that help are the direction. So you might pull like this way, and another time you might want to pull like this in this direction, and just test both directions to see which one actually tears it better. So right here on this tear, can you see right here how it really folded up tight, and it actually pulled some of the threads here in the middle. I don't mind this, I'm just explaining it to you because if it happens to you, well, you can see the pulls a little better from this side. You can see the pulls on the thread. So you choose directions and then realize that even if it pulls up, like in this example, once you start tugging on it to pull off some of the fray, then it just goes away. I like to make mine look a bit shabby. That's my tip for this session, is just to experiment with them. So I hope this helps you to not be intimidated by using things. If you see any flowers in this section that you really like, then just let me know, and I may have enough to sell you a fat quarter. I will create a listing. I really think that many of you can just go into your closets and look at your old curtains, purchase curtains on clearance, purchase fabrics, and a little piece, a half yard of fabrics. Because this fabric, if you buy this fabric at your local store, it might cost 12, 13, 14, $15, or even up to $25 a yard. Here I am. I wanted to show you just the way the pattern of the fabric that I'm using looks. Isn't this gorgeous fabric? This would make great curtains. or a beautiful pillow. And you can also make a flower to go with it. And this is what the flower looks like. You'll see the colors. Okay, here's this fabric. Isn't that colorful? Look at that. So I was able to purchase several just pieces of 1 or 2 yards each at a great price. And so that's how I came up with these fabrics. And this is the flower I made. See how gorgeous it is? I don't have it all put together, but you know, I just decided it needs a little button there. So there you go. Alright, this section, let me show you some of the names that I see on my fabrics, because I think some of you might say, well, what do I purchase? And I don't know where you can get more of this, but I could buy something similar. If somebody's interested in a yard or two of something similar, I might be able to get you some. But okay, this one, this is the bright colored one. It says Kelly Ripa Home. Look at this one. It says an original copyright design by Mill Creek Fabrics. They're all screen print. And this one says it's soil and stain repellent finish. Very interesting. But it feels really soft. It feels like maybe a synthetic cotton. But I hope that helps all of you. And you are inspired by these designs, and to keep your eyes out to look for something that you love. Something that's on sale. Something that a piece of your clothing that you can use to create beautiful flowers.